well, as you obviously can see, you don't need me to explain the obvious appeal of bringing food into a kind of a situation like this. There's a couple of artists who do it in different ways. It's Victor actually cooked like a matriarchal family polenta recipe of sorts in the kitchen during the opening, you know, and there's artists like Rick Terrazzo who makes rice for visitors, and there's a little bit of precedent for that. I really love the conscious, curated way that the food is invented by Lauren, and it is a natural extension. Because trying to explain the work, it's kind of like I'm guessing the first thing would be a photograph because that's an easy place to start, but it really is kind of this circle. So there's an image, it's maybe printed on silk, that is maybe put on a body, the body is videotaped interacting in nature, then that comes back into a room where some of those prints are worn, some are on the wall, and if you ask her what it is, sometimes if she's feeling mischievous, she'll say something like, a photograph. You know, and it's all of these things at once, and so, you know, why not have a sort of food, you know, conceptual food dimension? I mean, that goes into it. So, you know what, all right. Also, one of the reasons that we wanted to have Lauren's involvement, though, too, had to do specifically with the wearables aspect of what she does. Because that, and then this is a segue into everyone else that's still up here with me. Because a lot of times when you look at a show or you think about a show and you're being told it's feminist, I don't know why, but there is very often hardly anything really dealing with fashion involved in it, and unless it's something like a really horrible takedown of the abuse of Photoshop or, you know what I mean? It's like, it's very one-dimensional. You don't actually get like a celebratory quality and a feminist theory kind of together a lot. And I thought, we have Lauren, we have Victor, who's a fashion designer and artist, we have Susan, whose work is on these vintage fashion seamstress industry mannequins and patterns, and Peter Walker, who I'm really excited to talk to about this sort of like new thinking of feminism with regard to the work, but even without that as an inspiration, draws people as they are in the world. That sort of like genre painting quality to the people as you portray them is, to me, very much about sort of like what they're wearing and how they're presenting themselves as they move through this ambiguous space, you know, the trucker hat on that double portrait, which is like my favorite thing. And so, you know, you're conscious of that as well, even though the work is less, say, about fashion per se. And so Lauren was absolutely a linchpin of that. And then that, you know, became, and then Annie Terrazzo and her relationship to social media is definitely informed by some of the darker aspects of that kind of, you know, way that girls are encouraged to present themselves hypersexually online and things like that, kind of butts up against some of that fashion imagery stuff. So there's all these different versions of that, and I thought, wow, we didn't set out to do that, but, you know, sort of here we are. So that's my final segue, and now it's going to be Susan, and I would love it if you would talk, maybe even before the show, a little bit actually about your own work.